Hello, my name is Mobiius, and I'm going to be your host on this new podcast, Oscillator One. As a fan of music and art, I've always had a fascination with the lore and story behind my favorite artists. Whether it's reading books, digging through Wikipedia, watching videos and interviews, or seeing it unfold live on social media, taking these creatives' journey and using it to inspire my own is a big part of what has gotten me to where I am today. My hope is that I'm not alone in this feeling. The goal of this podcast is simply to deliver more insight into the minds, the creativity, and the experiences of artists whom I admire. However, as a disclaimer, this is the first time I've done something like this, and as someone not particularly gifted with the gab, these first episodes are each a learning experience on how to deliver a quality podcast. Your patience is very much appreciated. That said, my lack of experience in no way diminishes the talent and knowledge of our guests, all of whom are highly dedicated and skilled artists whom I'm proud to know. The first of these guests is a criminally underrated staple of the Aim to Head roster, who has been working like a machine for the past couple years, churning out non-stop releases and building his audience. So please enjoy our first episode with Call Me Sleeper.
Oscillator One.
Hello, I think first off, we should probably introduce ourselves. So my name is Nick. I go by Mobiius, produce music, and I'm the host of this as of yet unnamed podcast for Aim to Head. And yourself?
Well, I go by Fred, and my artist name or alias is Call Me Sleeper.
Okay. So right off the bat, I'm curious, I've been wanting to ask you this. Why is your name Call Me Sleeper instead of just Sleeper?
Well, it's a funny story. My cousin was listening to some Dire of Dreams, and there was a song called Karma Sleeper. And he misheard, and he thought, what is it? Call Me Sleeper? Don't call me Sleeper. Sounds kind of cool. So yeah, that's where it came from.
Okay, nice. So how did you originally get into deciding to create music and pursue this as a hobby, pastime, career, whatever it is?
Yeah, it was always a hobby, I think. I think I started with the basic, for kids, basically, the old EJ software.
There's DJ software for kids. What is that?
No, not the DJ, EJ. It was something strange. It was pre-recorded stems, basically.
Okay.
And you can build like a puzzle. There were no compression, nothing. It was just basically a limiter at the end, and you can build something with the stems, and you can change the tempo. That was basically it. You can change the tones, the notes, nothing advanced, but I got hooked on it, I guess, and I thought it was fun. With that to the side, then my cousin actually found a way to illegally get me a copy of Cubase, which I have bought now, of course. It's
of course. But who doesn't start out without an illegal copy of whatever software? I mean, if you're just starting out, are you yeah, you know what? I'm gonna drop $700 or euros or whatever on this piece of something. Come on. Anyway, sorry, continue.
It's fine. And yeah, I guess I was a hobbyist. I usually just used stems and record the wave, and I had some synths basically, so I just recorded everything. I didn't use MIDI because at the time I thought it was too cumbersome. And also, I think being a pirated copy, if there were bugs, I couldn't update, so I couldn't fix it. Stems of audio was the way to go for me.
Okay.
And I basically had it as a hobby for, I can't remember, from 2005 to 2014, 15. Then I kind of put it to the side. And then when the pandemic started, I actually had to be home, quarantined, and I was really bored.
Yeah.
And I guess I was hyped about the game Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah.
Yeah, the hype for that game was unreal. As soon as it came out, obviously it changed, but like leading up to it, yeah.
Yeah, and it started with the trailer, I think, with the hyper song, what it's called, spoiler, I think it's called. And I kind of like, okay, it's slow, it's heavy, it's dirty, but it's still futuristic. And it caught my eye, and I thought, okay, I was watching the demos and stuff, and I was thinking, what would fit this universe? I hadn't heard any cyberpunk, so I tried to make an album basically, and I barely knew how to use compression, no sidechaining, no nothing. I was I was going by ear, and I was cheating by not putting bass notes on the kicks and such, to try to balance it out. That got me started, and I actually made a song by accident. It was kind of catchy, I guess, and I sent it to some people as a demo. And the first response was actually Aim to Head Mix.
No shit.
And yeah, they just told me, hey, we like this song. We can put it in a mix. Some time went by, and I asked about the mix. When is it due? Should I wait for it? When did you change your mind? Because it was like a week later or something. I didn't know about the schedule thing.
Yeah.
They said, oh, it's the schedule for this time and date. And oh, by the way, we are thinking about starting a label. Are you interested in joining? And I was like,
This was your first ever like mid-tempo song that you had created?
No, not exactly. I always gravitated to the mid-tempo thing.
So previous to cyberpunk and seeing these things, you had been playing around with this genre?
Yeah, I think I have songs from like 2006 to 2007 on my YouTube channel, but I don't know when I upload them. But probably 2012 when I started a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Old songs, and it's basically 90 BPM and that kind of thing.
All right. So this is how you got into contact with Aim to Head.
Yeah, and when they asked me about if I was thinking about joining, I was like, give me a minute. I will try to create something actually professional sounding. So I dove so deep into production and into videos I did not expect actually to be diving into. Rock videos, EDM videos, everything. I wanted to take a cluster of information and just sort it out myself, what works for me. Then I sent in my first, it's okay now, I guess, but the Breach was the first song I sent in, and it was totally different from what I did before. It was basically just noises and a very industrial sounding, but still electronic and mid-tempo, of course. They thought it was dope, and then I was in. So
Okay.
I took it seriously from that point on, and that was at the change, I think it was 31st of March 2001. So,
2021.
21, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that would be roughly at the beginning of the Aim to Head label, yeah? They haven't been around for that long.
Yeah, I think I was like the third artist to actually sign. I don't know if I sent in my song third or I just said I was interested third, but I think it was like something like that. I don't have the full scope of the information, so
Okay. All right. Nice. So I'm wondering if this is how you got into music. In the years going forward, in 1 year, in 5 years, what are you aiming for? Is this something you want to turn into a career? Is this always been a side gig and something you consider to be a side gig? What are your ambitions? What do you want to do with your music?
I'm thinking like this, since my day job is quite exhausting and it takes a toll on your body. Your body just breaks down, basically. I'm starting to feel really old. So actually, when I see the potential, actually, maybe I can grow this project and maybe I can actually earn enough to maybe drop some time. Maybe I can work 50% in a year or two, hopefully.
Yeah.
And from there, I can actually put in more time and effort into the studio and build that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I can glide into it to make it a career.
I think so. A lot of it is just a numbers game. Like, if you earn so much money off of one song, then it's just a matter of putting out, 10, 20, 50 songs. And then if they're all earning that little bit, then I think there's a strong possibility for it. In a perfect world, what would you want to do? Like if the harsh realities and confines of our day-to-day lives weren't a thing, what would you want to do? I know I chatted to you before, and you said that you didn't really want to be a DJ or perform like this. You were more interested in doing soundtrack work or video game work. So ideally, what would you go for?
Yeah, as you said, the stage thing being the center of attention is not my thing, really. I get more emotionally attached, I think, if it's, as you said, soundtrack things and atmosphere. I like the hard-hitting stuff too, yeah, of course, but I'm thinking maybe I have a chance also as a side gig or something else to actually produce something like for a game or a movie. Yeah, that would be quite good, actually.
So all of the things being equal, you'd like to do like movie soundtracks, game soundtracks, like to do like what Hyper did for Cyberpunk.
I don't know if he actually produces for trailers otherwise, or if it just...
I think they just used his songs, but they used a lot of his songs in that game. So moving on, you mentioned Cyberpunk already, but what are the sort of things that you draw your inspiration from when you're trying to come up with ideas for tracks and you're blank? What are the things that you turn to inspire you?
Originally, I actually like the... it's not the Cyberpunk thing, actually. It was just the hype that got me started. And I've been gliding slowly away from it and back to the roots before it, when my sound was more like... It was still mechanical and industrial, and I can't really describe it, but the Warhammer 40k universe is very interesting. I actually... The intro for the Cyberpunk album I released is more in tune with the Adeptus Mechanicus thing there, with the machine spirit and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
Chanting and building, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's this, was it Adeptus Mechanicus? There's like a top-down Warhammer 40k video game. Oh, it was. Yeah. Did you play the game, Warhammer 40k Mechanicus?
No, actually not. But the game is on the shelf, or not the shelf, actually the bin. I'm not interested in that things. I think it's 2015. I just threw it away. I think it was because I cut some ties with some friends I usually played with online, and they were kind of toxic, and I was just like, not listening. So I've just been watching videos, basically lore videos.
Okay. And how did Warhammer come into your life?
It was actually when I was starting at school. I had trouble in school, as many of us probably had.
Why is that? What were you doing?
Well, I think I might have undiagnosed ADHD or something. I'm leaning more towards the ADD thing. Okay. I couldn't concentrate in school at all, and I couldn't get any grades because I kind of dropped out, but I was still attending sometimes. Okay. So I didn't get any grades. So I had to go to a boarding school, basically.
I see.
We lived at the school, and there I met some people, nerds, of course, and they were into Warhammer.
Okay, word. How old were you around this time?
I think I was 15, 16, maybe.
All right, so like early high school.
Yeah.
So they got Warhammer, and then what? You were painting models, or you're reading books, or?
Yeah, it started with the fantasy version, Mordheim. It's called a tiny kit you could buy and play with friends, basically.
Okay.
And it was quite fun, and it was a dude who really was into the 40k that got us started with this small thing for us to see if we had the potential. So we threw hundreds and hundreds of euros or dollars or whatever you call it on just paint and models, and we got so sucked into it. And the dude was reading the rule books and lore for us at the same time, and we were like so sucked into this universe. And then we, of course, bought a bunch of models and started to play. But then, because I had trouble remembering the rules, and I always was reading for the rule book, we actually got the Dawn of War RTS PC game,
which is amazing.
Yeah, it came out around that time. We were actually into that, and then we dropped the models, so to speak.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. The PC game is a lot cheaper than the models.
It's automatic. The game calculates everything for you. You don't have to roll the dice. You don't have to look in the rule book and measure stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started out with fantasy. Did you have a fantasy army?
No, actually not. It was only the Mordheim thing.
And then on 40K, did you have an army?
Yeah, I started with the Chaos army, but I bought some more of the Nurgle Death Guard army kit because I thought they were really cool. They were really slow. Something about them. They were just tough as nails. It was marching on into the battlefield. Not so much ranged combat, but yeah.
So is it like Marines or demons?
Mostly Marines, but special units, demons. I think it was because of the painting and also the modifications you could do with the models. So I prefer the Marines because you can modify them more easily because they're like they're covered in armor. It's much easier to actually mod them and take things from other things and put them on. Organic stuff, not so easy with the green stuff. And
unless you're like literally sculpting it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a combination of the actually building and painting that made me choose the soldiers more than the demons.
Okay, nice. So let's circle back to COVID for a second. During COVID, I know myself definitely, and many people across the globe struggled a lot with like mental health during that period because you're locked inside. Do you struggle with mental health?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you can call it just melancholy because I got diagnosed with depression, I think, when I was 12, 13. I took a bunch of antidepressants and stuff, and it just made me sluggish. When I started the boarding school, I basically just threw them away. You should never do that. Never do that. I was not in a good place. But I had the new friends to actually hang out with and take my mind off things. So yeah, I've never been clinically declared healthy.
Like they've never undeclared you depressed.
Yeah, I just never followed up on it. And I just accepted the things like I'm easier to fall into the feelings of sadness and sorrow and those kind of things. I can feel joy, of course. It's and funny things, no problem. But happiness is a concept it's in the future for me. You know what I mean?
Like, do you mean just fleeting happiness, day-to-day happiness, or like that deep feeling of satisfaction and happiness?
Satisfaction part. I know my path. I'm on the path. I know this is where I'm going. This is where I'm staying. That feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still climbing stuff, and it's still very uncertain. You have like with the music, you have it's going up. Then you have a dip.
Of course. It's always up, and then back down, and then up.
Yeah, and then you don't feel less joyful.
Yeah, it's funny. You really think, you look at it, you're like, I know that things are going really good, but I know that it's going to hit a dip again. Yep. And then it hits the dip, and you're like, even though you knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's like what was it called, Sisyphus or something, rolling the stone up the hill, and it goes back down.
Yep, exactly. So
like that.
If you've been struggling with depression for a long time, I'm kind of curious, like, what sort of things do you do actively to go against it, to combat it? When you feel these sort of things creeping in, what do you do to push them back, keep it at bay?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a healthy coping mechanism, but I actually dive really deep into like music. Okay. I overwhelm myself with tasks, I think. I produce really much, I produce a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't release like half of it. It's just practicing, Can I make this? Can I make this? Okay, I've made this. Does it feel right? No, it doesn't actually feel like I want to do more songs of this kind. I throw it away. Or maybe I just leave it as is because it doesn't fit me. But I know, okay, I can do it. If I set my mind to it, but my heart isn't in it, and I just throw it away. So
it's like you do tasks. You overwhelm yourself with things.
Keep busy. Something to solve, problem solving, something to figure out. That's my go-to to not actually feel.
Why do you think that works?
Because then you have a purpose, I think, just for the moment. I have to figure it out. I have to solve this.
It's kind of like this quote I heard the other week, how if you're feeling bad, it's a lot easier to act your way into thinking differently than it is to think your way into acting differently. Like if you do what you said and you're just start doing things, you kind of distract yourself, and before long you're feeling better, versus sitting in your bed, like sinking into the hole and thinking like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to attack the world, I'm going to do this.
It's actually said it's harder to actually sit in a hole and think about what you're going to do, because then you're not distracted. Then you're actively thinking about that you're not doing anything and you have to do something. But if you start doing something, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's interesting enough. Or don't create problems. Find problems that you want to see if you can solve.
Yeah.
So,
what do you do when music doesn't appeal to you?
yeah, I binge movies and series actually on. I don't want to drop names. We're not sponsored, so not yet.
Video streaming services.
Yeah.
Nice. So you work full time, right?
Yeah.
And you still manage to release music pretty consistently. So what is your strategy for balancing these two? Because obviously producing songs takes a lot of time, a lot of brain energy. So how do you do it?
The first year, I actually got burned out by December. It was many problems with family and stuff, and the actually trying to produce music after work. So I was staying up way too late. I didn't get enough sleep, so I just burned myself out. And I actually got sick leave for 2 or 3 months. So
what?
When I got back,
they'll give you 2 or 3 months off of work because you're sick.
It was mentally exhausting. I was actually seeing a doctor, and this was also during pandemic time still. So I was doing it video call with doctors and psychologists and just explaining what's happening. And I was actually getting I didn't know it myself, but she described it to me. She was watching me. You're not breathing. Your breath is going more shallow. You're having a panic attack and you don't even know it. And I was like, okay. So she recommended the sick leave to the doctors. The doctors were prescribing it. I could show it to work and they could pass it on to the insurance companies and for me to recuperate and come back to work. So now actually I still work the 40 hours a week, but I only work 4 days because I have 10-hour work days. So before I was having 50-hour work weeks and producing music. So
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was too much.
But I mean, you're still doing that now, right?
No, actually, I'm keeping it to Fridays to Sundays.
So you just produce music 3 days a week?
Yeah, or I kind of get a sneak start at maybe Thursday night because I don't have to get up early at Friday. So
okay, so you're basically just breaking up. Half the week is real work, half the week is music work.
Yeah, it's kind of like I treat it kind of like a second job because I can easily, if I'm having a flow, I can easily sit 8 hours straight. I forget to eat. I have water with me, of course, but I forget to eat. So it's not healthy.
Would you say that's average for you? Do you sit down like 8 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, to grind some music out?
I try to do it. Yeah, I have to be productive in some kind of way. I can't just. I set kind of a deadline. I try to release one time a month, basically, and that's actually a hard deadline.
It is. It seems like 4 weeks. Of course, I can make one song every 4 weeks, but to actually meet that month after month after month, it's a lot. Let's see here. Consistency. You seem like a pretty type A person. Like you're like activities. Do you ever struggle with discipline?
Yeah, it's actually getting started with the activities. Once I get rolling, I am actually, not unstoppable. I take a really long time to unwind. It's like I'm slow to get up to speed, but then when I'm keeping speed, I have an easier time just keeping it. And then when I slow down, I actually got to take 2-3 hours to slow down before I go to bed because otherwise I can't.
Because your brain is just going and going, or?
Yeah, I think so. I still have to do something. I think that's part of the depression state because if I don't do anything, well, not that my mind goes to dark places. It just gets to a hole where it's like, is it worth doing this? Am I on the right path? You know what I mean? Not depressive thoughts, it's just doubtful thoughts. Recently, I've gotten busy with the Midjourney AI thing, art thing, before bed. It's actually a cool thing to unwind with because you're just thinking about concepts. What can I do with this? I'm not reading books. I'm doing this instead because it's funny. You type in stuff, it's generating, and you're watching it. It takes about a minute. So you're just doing nothing, and you're watching it unfold.
Yeah,
kind of like watching a flower open up. And if you see a bug or something that doesn't understand what you mean, you're like, okay, I gotta rephrase this. Okay, this plus this in this pose or something to like correct it. and it's not a challenging thing. It's more like a passive interactiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Passive interactivity. So obviously, DALL-E 2 and Midjourney just recently became available to the public. Text-based AI has been around for a while, and that's getting better and better. What do you think about music-based AI? How long do you think it's going to be until somebody can be like, dubstep song that sounds like Ed Sheeran's Nightmares, and they type that in, and then it spits back audio at you?
I've seen some videos on it actually, and it was also interesting. I think it could be like Midjourney. I've seen some artists are against Midjourney and DALL-E because it takes away all the creative process and blah blah blah. And some artists are actually embracing it as a generator to build upon. So they have a kind of an image they want to bring to life. They type some stuff in and they see stuff they didn't think about that is actually cool to incorporate. So some of them are more forgiving about it. Some of them are against it. I think many musicians are against the you can just type in this and then the music comes out and blah blah blah. But I've heard some of the examples. It's really funny. The audio quality is horrible.
But in 5 years, 10 years,
yeah,
we might be out of a job.
Or maybe we'll be turned illegal because the music industry, it's infringing on the profits. So
yeah, there's very, very big corporations that are going to want to protect their interests. That might help us. What do you think? What's your take on the visual artist side?
I'm actually thinking about the embracing thing because you can still tell that it's actually AI that does it. You learn how the patterns are emerging, and you can actually tell if it's Midjourney or DALL-E,
Mm-hmm.
or actually I'm thinking about, because I recently got accepted to the DALL-E, so using both of them, because I saw another person do this, he's generating first in DALL-E and then using that image as a reference inside the Midjourney to get the grittiness and the tendrils and the it's spongy and more visceral, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very interesting. So I'm excited about it, but maybe just super hyped.
Is there much merit to people being like, no AI, this is destroying real art, but does progress actually care?
I saw some artists actually saying, no, you should pay real artists to do the cover work. Don't do the cover art with the Midjourney and DALL-E and blah blah blah. These same artists are the ones that, let's take the most famous DAW, for example, Ableton. You have racks that other artists can create and just share with other artists. So the less skilled can use about the same effects, and it's almost finished. You just run the audio through it, and it's turn these knobs, and you will get this. I see that as almost the same thing. You basically feed things into these effect racks, and you get something out that sounds more professional. I can't paint, and I can't make these images that DALL-E and the Midjourney makes. I feed it with something, and something else comes out. I think it's about the same thing. Photoshop, when that came out, I think many people were against it. Now it's a staple, and you're not professional if you're not using Photoshop, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's the evolution of human creativity.
I guess it's too cool to be anti something. I think it's a thing. People just want to be no, because then they have a point, they have a stance, they have something. Let's stand against this. Let's rage against the machine.
In this case, literally, yeah. So obviously, your main creative output is your work as Call Me Sleeper. Do you have any other creative outlets? Like personally, I do calligraphy, make lo-fi music, or draw a picture. Do you have something like this in your life that you do?
I was talking to an other artist about this, and he was actually thinking about, like you did, starting a different project on the side. You couldn't release this music as your current alias, because current fans will be like, what is this? This isn't what I'm used to.
Yeah.
So I'm actually thinking about starting another side project or something. I have no idea what it's going to be called, but it's more it's calmer music, more atmospheric, and I still like the ambience of things. I would like to record real things and use as a template. It was all just like a base to build upon.
So like, what is have you started it yet? Do you have tracks that you built out, or is it just an idea?
It's an idea.
All right.
Because I usually get stuck in this. I make intros for the songs, and I come to this kind of writer's block almost, because I get stuck in this atmosphere. I want to keep building it, but I have to cut it off. You have to kill your darlings. You know what I mean? I get sucked into it, so I know I like it.
Yeah.
So I need to do something more with it. So yeah, that's my take on it. I know that I want to build upon this. Maybe the side project, maybe I will release it as the current alias or something, but I will name maybe it will be like albums and name them appropriately so people don't get confused.
I see. So is it like sleep music, ambient music, soundtrack music?
I was thinking about almost all of them. I've seen some clips on YouTube that are like just rain and traffic, and just build something around that people can have in the background, just to have something on, to feel like there's something going on around them.
Yeah.
Because I can remember as a kid, I usually slept with the TV on low volume because I needed to, I don't know. I can't sleep when it's really, really quiet.
Yeah. You want like something to feel like something's going on.
The sensory deprivation thing, like you need to suppress, you need to dull your senses with having something that's continuous, like a fan, for example. I always sleep with a fan on to have these to actually calm the senses, because otherwise, if nothing happens, the minute something just clicks or creaks or anything, you get like you wake up, or your sleep gets disturbed. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. In your creative process, when you're making songs, I think a lot of people struggle with this. You want to make the song that you're making as good as you possibly can, right? But a lot of times in the process of trying to make it as good as you can, it just gets pushed back and back. And you're like, I need to take a break from it. Or I think I can change this and this, or I don't know what to do, but it's not quite there. What is your opinion on done is better than perfect? At what point do you say, you know what, cut it off, that's fine?
I think I take it to good enough, because you can actually spend too much time with it, and the brain creates a filter, you know what I mean? So if you hear it too much, and you're focusing on details, all the sounds just get filtered out. You don't hear them anymore. So I think it's important to maybe take 2 or 3 days break from it, do something else, or just take the song, render it out, even if it's unfinished, and listen to it at moments when you're actually not paying attention to it, like when you're traveling or in the car or anything, because then you're passively listening, and you can actually figure stuff out from that, oh, this is actually sticking out too much, or this is actually not loud enough. I know this sound is there because I made it, so I can hear it clearly, but maybe other people can't because they don't know it's there.
All right. Expanding on that, how would you say you go about finishing a track? Like once you have your track basically there, what are your last steps that you go through to be like, this is 100%, I'm sending it off?
If it's like I'm feeling I can't really add anything to this, and I don't want to take anything away from it, that's probably when I think it's finished. It's not supposed to be too busy and not feel like there's something missing. That's probably the limit. Of course, you can always polish and you can put some details in and all that kind of stuff, but that takes time and shouldn't feel forced. And it's basically, this is good enough. It sounds okay on this system, okay on this system. It could sound perfect on one system and sound crap on another system. The sacrificial thing where I love the bass, but I got to cut it down because it sounds like crap in the car because it's blowing out the speakers or something.
Yeah. So when you're going through it, what do you listen to finish it? Is it like earbuds, computer speakers, car speakers?
I think the finisher is actually in the car, I think. because then you have road noise and all those kind of things that contaminate the audio. And if it still pokes through enough, then I think it's okay, it's finished. It's not overtaking, it's not resonating with other stuff. It's actually, yeah, it's hard. Some songs just, you gotta take maybe a week of a break, do something else, then come back to it and feel refreshed, of course. But that's my process. I think, okay, maybe this is overcompressed, maybe this is too dynamic, and maybe this is. I'm not a professional. I'm not educated at this at all.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering what your take is, because honestly, a lot of your songs sound like very thick. They're very loud and juicy. They have like very good textures. So quite possibly people could want to know what your sauce is. How does Call Me Sleeper get these fucking sounds? This is what we're here to learn.
Secrets.
As you're finishing a song, is most of your mixing done through the project? Or do you have like a very beefy mastering chain that's like a big band-aid for a lot of the things you've done previously?
I have my go-to plugins, of course. But it's never the same thing. I don't save anything like that. I put a limiter on always, just to keep it in check. When you're sound designing, some crazy things can happen. You don't blow out the speakers or something. But it's usually, I have my groups or buses, but I usually limit them and also have a limiter on the final mix bus. And then I take away the limiter and stuff and work with the dynamics on the other things. I work hand in hand. I work front to back, to front to back and forth.
Okay.
To balance it out. Every time I make a change, I need to change something else. So I always go like this to build it up to the thickness I think I need. I like the grungy, bitey sound, I think.
Yeah.
It could also be a side effect of the car, because the car is quite rumbly. So I will like my rumble in the music to actually poke out and sound juicy, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So how long have you been an active artist for? As Call Me Sleeper? When do you consider like your start date?
I think it was the late 2020, the November, December, when I actually released the hyped album for the cyberpunk thing. Now I'm stuck with this name. That was my feeling. Like, okay.
It's like, all right, if I change it now, like, it's too late.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you approach your branding? Did you do it yourself? Did you have somebody else do it for you? And do you think it's an important part of you as an artist?
That's a hard one, because I easily get bored with I like development. I like evolving. So the branding might change over time, of course. But I think it's also, some artists also, they want to have the brand constant. Like maybe a sports brand or something, they will never change the design, never. It's like a safety thing that like this symbol is holy for people. You can't change it.
Yeah.
But I think if you make changes in your, not branding exactly, but the logo or something as an artist, it should be signaling now something has changed. This is the next level or something. Yeah, you should be able to hear it, I think, in the music, or feel it, that something has changed. If you're changing something visually, it should also be accompanied with the sound. I'm not too deep into the branding thing, and I think I should actually get more deeper into it, read more about it. But the design of the logos, the first one I ever did was my own design. But the other ones, I've actually asked the more professional artists to make them, because I think if you ask someone to make a design, you say, this is my music, this is how it sounds, what do you feel about it? And they show you what they feel. And if you get like 3 or maybe 5 options to choose between, and you also feel the same about this logo as the other person did, then there's a connection between the listener and you with the symbol, instead of just you, I think this is really cool, and the other's like, yeah, that's almost cringe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good balance if you actually ask someone else to do the design, or maybe as you have done, you make multiple designs yourself and ask other people, which one do you think is best? Because you have made them yourself, so you're connected to each one of them, and then the audience can be, this is you. This is what I see when I think about you. So yeah.
Okay, nice. As you move forward, I know that you have like your tech CMS logo. Do you plan to have some sort of avatar, I guess? Because until this interview, you have kept your face hidden. But many artists, either they have their own face or they'll have some sort of avatar, somebody like Cloud or something like this, where they have like a helmet or a cartoon character or something, so that people have like in their head something to connect to the music. Have you thought about this?
I actually think the avatar thing could be really important for some people, because for some people, they like to see the face of the artist, but I think it's more accepted if it's just an entity. It's something. If you have people can know how you look. Like other artists, like they have a mask that they put on during the performance, and they take off halfway through or the other way around. The symbol of the atmosphere, so to speak, could be really important, and you can do that with the clothing, like Rammstein, for example.
Of course, yeah.
They do this with the clothes on the stage.
Yeah.
But some people just have a mask or something that symbolizes, now I'm in this mode, now I'm performing, now I am the artist.
Like Deadmau5 or something like that.
Yeah, and then you take it off, then you're basically yourself.
So then what is your thought for the Call Me Sleeper project? Do you want to show your face? Do you want it to be like that metal skull thing that you have now? Or do you want it to just be ambiguous?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm very, I'm very on the fence on this. I've been talking to so many people about it, and so many say, "Show your face." So many other people say, "Have a symbol, have an avatar, have something to actually differentiate your private life from your artistry, so to speak." And I can actually connect to that, because in my work I wear these high-vis clothes and protective gear, and I have all these tools with me all the time. And when I put that on, I actually feel now I'm in work mode. So I'm actually more. I'm actually omniverted. I'm extroverted in my job, and I'm more introverted alone. So I put my work clothes on, and I'm more extroverted. I turn the professional me, so to speak. So I think it could be important for your sanity to, when you put the mask on, now I'm performing. When I take it off, now I can relax.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what you do with it. I think it could be quite cool. I have one last question for you. It's a question that I heard from this other podcast with Willie Joy. And he always asks the people, what is a moment in your life that you can point to where music had a very strong effect on you, or when music changed your life?
Yeah, actually, this came as a surprise for me, because when the movie Matrix came out, it was super hyped, right? And the 90s, it's pop culture, blah, 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 Backstreet Boys, Spice Girls, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
People listening to this, and I just bought the soundtrack for Matrix, and I wasn't expecting to hear the music from Marilyn Manson, Rammstein,
Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Machine, these other bands, and this like opened the portal for me. Like, what's this? Hey, what's this? Rob Zombie?
Yeah, Dracula and the Club. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. This is very interesting. It's a very heavy thing. I haven't heard it on the radio before. I like this. So this just opened a door for me, and I was actually, it was a time in the house, in the family, we got a computer around that time, and you were online searching for songs basically, and other genres basically for now, because now you learn that these artists are doing a certain genre, and you were searching genres and expanding your horizon with new artists and music. So 1999.
There it is, 1999, Matrix soundtrack. The game has changed.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Thank you, Fred. It was nice to finally chat to you face to face.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too, man.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And I don't know, you got anything else?
Nothing.
All right, cool. I think that is a wrap on the first podcast.